Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, send it to me, box13 at greatdetectives.net. You can follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives or become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Well, before we get started, I want to encourage you as you're making your travel plans, remember JohnnyDollarAir.com. JohnnyDollarAir.com is a Priceline affiliate, so you can either save money by naming your own price on hotels, rental cars, airline tickets, and even more, or you can choose from great published fares. If you do end up purchasing through JohnnyDollarAir.com, part of your purchase goes to support the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. So remember, check out JohnnyDollarAir.com first when you are planning your travel. Well, now we continue on with the Open Town Matter Parts 3 and 4.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
How you making out, Johnny boy?
Who is this?
You disappoint me, Johnny. You ought to recognize the condition, if not the voice.
Joe Crayley?
Yeah, the drunken reporter on the Daily Herald.
I want to talk to you. Where are you?
Oh, no, you don't. Not tonight.
Why not?
In 10 minutes, you'd have me shooting my big mouth off.
About the rackets here?
And the murder of the Honorable Chief of Police, and the peculiar morals of his lovely young wife, and...
Joe, listen.
And last but not least, the ethical and philosophical problems of an intellectual lush. A reformed idealist who once or even twice tried...
Joe, an hour ago, in front of City Hall, somebody fired 5 shots at me. Joe, are you there?
Beat it, Johnny. Grab a plane, train, bus, or walk, but get out now. When they put the finger on it, sticks. Greensport, boy, is a wide open
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location Greensport, Missouri, to the Home Office, Great Plains Guarantee Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the Open Town Matter. Expense account continued. Item 7, $1.85, taxi to the home of the mayor of Greensport, Will Lyons. I'd decided to go straight to headquarters, so to speak. Joe Crayley, professional reporter and semi-pro drunk, might have been able to help, but I didn't know where to find him. So far, I had a lot of questions, no answers. Police Chief Ed Blake had been shot to death in his own home with his own gun. His young widow, Marty, and City Attorney Dave Sherman had been present and both told the same story, mysterious prowler. Supposedly, the prowler was Shorty Wells, an ex-convict with a grudge against the murdered chief. But Shorty was missing, and the case was at a standstill. So I went right to the top, to Mayor Lyons.
Come in, Mr. Dollar. Come right in.
Thanks.
My wife is going out this evening, committee meeting at the Women's Club. We can talk here in the library, if you don't mind.
All right, fine.
Take a chair there. Yeah, well, Mr. Dollar, I will say it's a pleasure to see you safe and sound.
Well, you heard about the shooting, then?
I heard the shots from my office. Then the acting chief of police phoned me a few minutes later.
Well, does he know yet who did it?
Not the slightest. There were no witnesses. At least none who cared to talk. Car took off at high speed and then just disappeared.
Like Shorty Wells. Fine.
I sympathize with your feelings, Mr. Dollar. I'd feel the same way if I'd been made a target of. But you can rest assured, sir, that every facility of law enforcement in this town is working round the clock to bring the culprits to justice.
Yeah, well, that's very comforting, Mayor. But actually, I'm not sure I was the target.
What do you mean?
Well, when I left you and Dave Sherman and came out onto the sidewalk, Marty Blake was waiting for me in her car parked at the curb. She'd been there about 20 minutes, she told me.
Yes, but
whoever fired those shots had the setup planned, worked out. And I don't think they could very well have planned it for me.
Why not?
My schedule wasn't predictable enough. They didn't know when I'd leave City Hall, whether I'd be alone or not, or what I'd do when I stepped outside.
It's a point, all right.
Marty, on the other hand, had been there for 20 minutes. Plenty of time to arrange the thing.
But why? Why should anyone want to kill her?
Well, there you got me. I don't know.
After the shooting, of course, I had a police officer assigned to guard duty at her home, but I regarded it as merely a routine precaution. I was certain that the attempt was made on your life, Mr. Dollar.
Well, those bullets came too close to both of us for very much peace of mind.
Well, at least Mrs. Blake has protection now.
Oh, yeah. Unless that police officer himself knocks her off.
Well, you're joking, of course.
Mia, that's the worst thing about this whole case. I don't know whether I'm joking or not.
But surely you don't think...
And are you certain of which ones you can trust in the attorney's office, the police force, in your own department even?
Not entirely, no.
With the rackets as wide open as they are here, some of the men around you are bound to be involved.
I know. It stands to reason. Every raid we've ever attempted has been tipped off before we even got started. Blake tried while he was alive. Dave Sherman tried. I even organized 2 myself. Told nobody about them. Brought in state police to carry them out. Same result.
Say, what about Blake? He must have been in with the mob to live on that lavish scale he did.
I suppose so. Dave and I suspected him at times, but we could never turn up any actual evidence.
Were he and the city attorney friends?
Ed and Dave? No, they couldn't get along at all.
And yet, the night Blake was shot, Dave Sherman was staying overnight in his home.
Yes, I know. I've thought myself it was a little odd. Dave says Blake had asked him to. Invited him to go on a fishing trip the next morning.
A fishing trip? And yet they couldn't get along.
I know. I can't explain it any more than you can.
Any chance Dave Sherman was the intended victim that night instead of Blake?
I really don't see how, Mr. Dollar, in view of the circumstances. Blake was killed when he heard a prowler and went downstairs to investigate. No one could have expected Dave to do something like that.
No, I guess not. It was just an idea.
I've thought of all kinds of outlandish possibilities myself, but it always comes back to the same thing. Shorty Wells.
Yeah, the ex-convict who swore he'd get Blake when he went to prison.
He was paroled just the week before, Mr. Dollar, and he was seen in town the day before the killing.
And nobody has found hide nor hair of him since. Yeah, it adds up all right. But somehow I still can't buy it. Maybe it just adds up a little too well. 3/4 of the criminals who are sentenced make threats like that, but it's a rare one who carries it out.
Rare, yes, but not unknown.
Oh, true. I admit he's a strong possibility. But when I hit town this afternoon, I thought Marty Blake was a strong possibility, until the city attorney himself came up with an airtight alibi for her.
Why did you suspect her, Mr. Dollar?
Insurance. A $50,000 policy on Blake's life. His wife's the beneficiary.
Well, I don't imagine $50,000 will last Mrs. Blake very long.
Hey, tell me something, Mayor. Are she and Dave Sherman close friends?
At one time, yes. In fact, Dave was pretty serious about her. But after she married Blake last year, Dave turned against her completely.
I see.
I don't think he'd risk an alibi for her out of friendship, if that's what you're thinking.
Oh, I don't know exactly what I'm thinking. Mostly I'm just guessing.
I've been doing that 2 years now, Mr. Dollar. Guessing, figuring, trying to spot the leader behind these rackets. Not knowing which officials I could trust.
Mayor, is Dave Sherman one of those you can trust?
I'm not sure.
Good evening, Mrs. Blake.
Well, this is a surprise. Come in, Johnny. Join the party.
Thanks.
Of course, I'm the party. There isn't anybody else. Except my watchdog sitting out there in front.
Yeah, I saw him.
Cute, isn't he?
I didn't notice.
I did. Think that's terrible, Johnny? A girl who's been a widow 4 days noticing another guy.
Why not? You didn't care anything about your husband.
That's right, I didn't. Here's to all husbands. May they rest in peace. He's a cute cop, all right. You know what? I asked him to come inside and have a drink with me, and he actually blushed and stammered. Now, wasn't that cute?
Devastating.
Would you blush and stammer, Johnny?
No, I'd take the drink. Which I will, by the way, if you don't mind.
Here. Make me another one, too.
All right. What's the reason for this one-woman celebration, Mrs. Blake? I said,
I heard you. And you can call me Marty if you want me to answer you.
All right, Marty. Why the lonesome gal routine?
It's not so lonesome now, Johnny.
Oh. Here's your drink.
Used to getting shot at.
Shot at how, Marty? Like we were this afternoon? Or like your husband?
Everybody can't be lucky. Maybe Ed just didn't live right.
Well, he's not living anyway now.
I'll bet you know how to live, Johnny.
Oh, sure. I got a system.
Tell me about it.
Well, the first thing I do is hook up with the rackets so I can buy my wife lots of expensive gifts.
Why don't you lay off that stuff? Why don't you try being nice for a change?
Well, that's not part of my system.
I didn't kill him. You know that now. So why don't you relax and be human?
Oh, the last time I relaxed around you, I caught the breeze off of 5 bullets.
You're breathing, aren't you?
I might not be, if they'd been after me instead of you.
So you're still on that kick?
Oh, it figures, Marty. I'm no threat to anybody, not yet. I don't know enough about this mess.
And you're saying I do, I suppose.
I think so. Now, who'd want to get you out of the way, Marty? To keep you from talking, maybe.
Don't you ever give up.
All right, tell me this. Did Dave Sherman really see that shooting? Or is he just giving you an alibi?
Why don't you ask him?
Or is he giving himself an alibi by any chance?
You're crazy.
Maybe. Where's Shorty Wells?
What?
I said, where is Shorty?
I heard what you said.
Well, then suppose you tell
Get
me.
out.
What are you so upset about?
Get out of here right this minute. Get out, or so help me, I'll throw
Take it easy, Marty. What's that cute cop going to think?
I don't care what anybody thinks. You get out of here and get out fast.
Item 9, $14.40. Drinks, tips, and transportation for a local expedition in plain and fancy pub crawling. I was looking for Joe Crayley, disillusioned idealist and erstwhile reporter on the Greensport Daily Herald. I found him on my 3rd martini. He was on his 7th.
How, Johnny? How'd you do it?
Do what?
How'd you find me?
Called your paper. They gave me a list of your hangouts. I had 4 more to go.
A reputation is a wonderful thing. Keeps you from staying off the straight and narrow. He's looking at you.
Right. Joe, tell me about Marty.
Tell you what about it?
Everything you know.
What for? She's got an alibi.
Oh, yeah, I know all about it.
But you still won't give up. Well, she hates champagne, but she always orders it. Why? Because it costs more.
I see.
She's every man's dream, Johnny. A pink and gold doll in spangled tights, and she's a 4-star tramp.
She's an ex-dancer, isn't she?
She's an ex-lot of things. Ex-girlfriend of Shorty Wells. Ex-girlfriend...
Girlfriend of Shorty Wells.
Sure. Ed Blake took her away from him. That's why Shorty threatened to kill him. Said Blake was framing him. Maybe he was, I don't know. Anything could have happened with the police they got in this town.
Crooked? Is that what you're trying to say?
Some of them are that. The rest of them are useless. Like that business with the gun.
What gun?
That Ed Blake was shot with. They found it lying beside his body, his own gun. They just assumed he'd shot it out with the killer. It was 2 days before they realized he'd been shot with that gun. That Blake hadn't used it, the killer had.
Wait a minute. Do you think Shorty Wells and Marty could have planned the thing together?
Johnny, I wouldn't put anything past that dame.
Why do you hate her so much, Joe?
Guess again, my friend. I don't hate her. I'm in love with her, always will be.
Joe.
Yeah, before she met Shorty Wells, she used to be my girl. Gives you something to think about, doesn't it, Johnny?
Johnny Dollar. Hello?
Hello. Johnny?
Yeah, who's calling? Hello?
Hang on a second, Johnny.
Look, what the devil? Is that you, Joe? Joe!
Sorry to keep you waiting, Johnny. I was trying to get all the dope on another phone.
What dope? And how did you sober up so fast?
There's a big story breaking, boy, and lush or not, I'm still a reporter.
Then go somewhere and report. I'm going to bed.
You want to bet?
Now, look, Joe.
Nobody sleeps in Greensport, Johnny. It's a wide-open town. Racket, shootings, a murdered police chief with a lovely widow.
Sure, fine. So what's the big story?
A fire, boy. House burning down. Flames 50 feet high. 3 alarms. Put your clothes on and let's get going.
You get going. The only big story I'll be interested in is when Marty Blake is charged with murder.
Johnny, that's where the fire is. At Marty Blake's.
From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location Greensport, Missouri, to the Home Office, Great Plains Guarantee Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the Open Town Matter. Expense account continued. Item 10, $1.50 for a breakneck taxi ride to Marty Blake's home. Its location marked against the night sky by a pillar of flame visible for a mile. The fire didn't make sense, so it fit in nicely with the rest of the case. None of it made sense. Police Chief Ed Blake, Marty's middle-aged husband of 8 months, had been shot to death in his own home with his own gun. And less than 24 hours later, Marty had filed claim on his $50,000 life insurance policy. She didn't love him and admitted it. Good case. Except for one thing. The city attorney himself was present at the time of the shooting and backed up Marty's story of a mysterious prowler, supposedly ex-convict Shorty Wells. But Shorty was missing, and the whole thing was just a little too convenient, too pat, especially in a wide-open town. Joe Cradley was going to meet me at the fire, but I didn't see him around. The flames had taken a strong hold, and the whole outside of the house was blazing. The firemen couldn't do much except try to control it, keep it from spreading, and to hold back the crowds that had collected on the street and lawns.
Well, how do you figure this one, Mr. Dollar?
Among others present was City Attorney Dave Sherman.
Well, you wanted to get things stirred up. Well, they seem to be stirred, all right.
Were you here when this happened, Mr. Sherman?
No, this time I'm not a witness for the defense. I arrived after the fire ended.
Yeah? What about Marty?
She's all right. She got out before it really caught. Sitting over there in my car.
Then she was here when it started.
Yeah.
Alone?
Well, so it seems.
But there was a police officer on guard earlier.
I thought you meant alone in the house. Yeah, he was out here in front. First thing he knew, flames were breaking out of the windows, and then Marty came running out of the house.
No one had arrived or left?
Well, not that he saw. Well, you're still trying to tag her, huh?
Oh, I'm trying to tag whoever is guilty. She figures, that's all.
Not on the shooting.
No, not with the alibi you've given her.
Mr. Dollar, look. She was standing 10 feet away from me in the second-floor hall when Ed Blake was shot to death in the dark downstairs. Now, that is not an alibi. It is a fact.
Oh, yeah, sure, I know.
Unless, of course, I'm lying.
All right, are you?
Why?
For old time's sake, maybe. You were in love with her once, Mr. Sherman.
Oh, I could name 24 guys around this town who were. Once.
Yeah, Shorty Wells, for instance.
That's right. That's why Shorty threatened to kill Blake when Blake sent him to prison. He claimed he was being framed out of the way to give Blake a clear field.
Go on.
Well, Shorty's a hoodlum. He was guilty as charged, all right.
But Blake was in on the rackets, wasn't he?
Well, it would seem that way.
Then there's also Joe Cradley. Marty was his girl at one time, wasn't she?
Yeah, that's when he started drinking, when she threw him over.
Why did she throw him over?
For the usual reason. Somebody knew.
Who?
Well, me, I thought. Took me 3 months to find out that I was running interference for Shorty Wells.
All right, so Joe Cradley took to drink. What did you take to, Mr. Sherman?
Law enforcement. I set out to break the rackets in this town and get rid of hoodlums like Shorty Wells and all the rest of them.
Yeah, but the rackets are still here.
And I'm still trying, Dollar. Now, look, I want to get one thing very straight.
What?
Ed Blake's killing. It happened just exactly the way I told you. That story is true. Marty didn't do it.
Maybe not. But she's in it some way. She's bound to be.
Well, that's something I wouldn't know.
Everywhere you turn in this case, you keep hearing about Marty Blake. Marty Blake. She's the one link that ties everything together.
Well, maybe.
That fire there. What's the story on that?
Well, why don't you ask her?
I left him standing there, staring into the fire. Staring into his own past, maybe. I didn't know. To me, it was still a puzzle, a question mark. And I didn't have the answer to him. Not much else, in fact. If he was telling the truth, Marty Blake couldn't have killed her husband. And so far, at least, there was nothing to show he was lying. I pushed on through the crowd of spectators, the thrill seekers, the morbidly curious, followers of fire engines, and walked toward Sherman's car. Marty was sitting there alone, subdued for once and quiet, and she looked scared.
Hello, Johnny. Get in and sit with me.
All right.
Just look at it. Isn't it terrible?
Yeah, it is. It'd be worse if you were in it.
Well, I was when it started.
Just how did it start?
I don't know. I think you were right, Johnny, about that shooting in front of the city hall.
Oh?
I think it was me they were after, not you. Now they've tried again.
Possible.
There's no other reason for burning down my home.
Who do you mean by they, Marty? Who?
I don't know. Whoever killed Ed, I guess.
If you know, you'd better tell me while you still can. If somebody is out to get you, if that's what's behind all this, then they obviously mean business.
I don't know, Johnny. I told you that.
Well, how about a guess, then?
Well, maybe Shorty Wells. I don't know.
Why? Why? The man he threatened is already dead. Why would he go after you?
Maybe to get even. He told me he hated me when I broke off with him. It's just the kind of thing he'd think of doing. Or didn't you know he was in love with me once?
Oh, I know. I'm asking you, how did the fire start?
I don't know, really. After you left this evening, I lay down on the sofa. I've been drinking, as you know, and I guess I just, went to sleep anyway.
No one else had been there after I left?
No. Anyway, I woke up with smoke all around and flames and all. It was terrible, Johnny. I was just lucky I got out alive.
You always were lucky, Marty.
Joe, what are you doing here?
How about it, Johnny? Are you glad I phoned or not?
Oh, yeah, sure. Wouldn't have missed it for a million.
Has she confessed yet? We can run a new headline on the Extra if she has.
I can do without any remarks from you, Joe.
Sure you can, baby. You're doing fine, just as you are.
Get away from here and leave me alone.
Can't do it, baby. I'm assigned to cover the fire. Gotta get all the angles. Human interest. That's you, baby. You are human, aren't you?
You stupid fool.
Financial angles, too. Got one there you might be interested in, Johnny. Did you know the house is heavily insured against fire?
Yes, I know, Joe. I checked through the company report before I left the hotel.
Oh, what of it? What if it is? Most houses are insured against fire, aren't they?
Sure they are, especially by prudent people like you. People who think of everything.
Oh, take it easy, Joe.
Get him away from here, Johnny.
Only you didn't think of everything, baby.
What?
It's too bad your car wasn't in the garage instead of sitting out in the driveway. Then all your assets would have been converted into cash. Nice, green, bloody cash.
Get away from here. Get away and leave me alone.
Why, baby? You can afford me now. You couldn't a couple of years ago. That's why you're tied up with all the other...
What the devil?
They came from the house. Well, there couldn't be...
Ammunition, maybe. Yeah, your husband must have kept boxes of cartridges around the house.
Look. There by the cellar door.
Somebody's staggering up out of the basement.
Johnny, look. He's got a gun in his hand.
It can't be.
He's fallen down on the ground. Come on, Joe.
Oh, man. When the dam breaks, everything goes.
How could anybody come out of that thing alive?
We Greensporters are tough cookies, Johnny.
Lucky, apparently. He's passed out cold. Another minute and he wouldn't have made it.
His clothes are smoldering there.
Yeah. Let's turn him over and get that coat off.
Right.
Easy now.
All right. Oh, good Lord.
What's the matter?
This is the boy everybody in town has been looking for. Shorty Wells.
Room 604. Greensport City Hospital. Time, midnight. The time when the pulse of living starts to slow down. The beginning of the quiet time, when the city sleeps and the nurses and interns walk even more softly. When a ticking clock becomes a drumbeat in the ears of restless patients. The time of crises, when battles for life are fought in silence and won or lost. A battle like that was being fought in 604, witnessed at the moment by myself and City Attorney Dave Sherman.
Well, this is always the tough part. The slow part of waiting it out.
Maybe a long wait, Mr. Sherman. Nearly 3 hours, and he still hasn't regained consciousness.
You know, I can't understand where he's been hiding out since Blake was shot.
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell.
I've turned this town upside down, I tell you. I just can't understand it.
Oh, I can't understand a lot of things. It's just another one of a lot of things about this case that are hard to figure out.
Well, it's tied up with the rackets, that's what I'm sure of.
I'm not sure of anything about this mess.
Yes, if we could just tag the person behind them, we could wrap it up. If we could only... Oh, excuse me. I'll get it. Dave Sherman speaking. Oh, yes, Mayor. Oh, Dr. Morton says he may hang on for a day or two, but as far as pulling through it, he hasn't got much chance. Oh, he hasn't been conscious at all yet. Yes, I'll keep in touch. I'll let you know the minute there's a... All right, Mayor. Good night.
Mayor Lyons, huh?
Yeah. He's a real fuss budget sometimes. He ought to go to bed.
Wait a second. Hey, he's trying to talk. Oh, false alarm again.
Dollar, do you think he started that fire?
Oh, I don't know. If he did, he got caught in his own trap. I just can't figure what he'd hope to gain by doing
Hi,
anything.
Johnny. Dave.
Aye.
So you've been able to talk yet?
Not yet, Joe. Get your story found?
Just under the wire. Of course, it consisted mainly of questions.
Well, Shorty Wells has the answers. If he were only able to give them out.
I can't figure him firing those shots, Johnny.
I can't either. He fired them before he came out of the blaze. He apparently wasn't trying to shoot anyone.
He couldn't even see anyone the way he's burned.
I'm afraid all we can do is wait. At least we'll know the whole story once he's able to talk.
Suppose he never is able.
Well, he's the only lead we've had. And he's the only one we've got now. The whole case is lying right there on that bed. If Shorty Wells dies without regaining consciousness, then we can drop it and forget it. Because we're beat.
Now, here's our star to tell you about the final episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow, death strikes again, lashes out violently, and mistakes its target. And a wide-open town blows sky high. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Les Crutchfield, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
Welcome back. To me, well, Johnny has, I think, been right to seemingly suspect everybody. I think there's at least one person he's overlooked. I won't say who because I don't want to spoil it, but, and I could also be on the wrong track. I don't remember exactly how this particular story ends. Might be something to think about ahead of the finale on Friday. And now on to listener comments and feedback. H2O Tester comments on iTunes. I listened to old-time radio as a kid, and it's fantastic to get to hear it again. Johnny Dollar is new to me, but I've been loving every episode I've heard. Thanks, Adam. Well, thanks so much. And I have to say that most of these programs we play here are new to me. Particularly the longer shows. Some of the shorter ones, I've heard all of the episodes before at one time or another. But series like The Lineup and Nick Carter were past the point where I've listened to the episodes previously. So I'm discovering them with you as well. And it's great to be able to discover those for the first time. All right, well, that will do it for today. We'll be back on Friday with the conclusion of the Open Town matter. And join us tomorrow for Nick Carter. In the meantime, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. But from Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.